Learn we record but we're never supposed to interact to feel. She turned to him. Her nebula eyes swirling with emotion. I've broken our most sacred law by speaking with you. Why did you then? Because in all my centuries of watching, I've never encountered anyone who made me want to stop observing and start living. Her hand found his crystalline fingers intertwining with human ones. You're dangerous to me, Thane. He squeezed her hand gently. I don't want to put you in danger. The danger came long before you. Naira's form pulsed with soft light. Would you like to see something no human has ever witnessed? At his nod she pressed her forehead to his. The lounge dissolved around them, replaced by cascading visions of starborn civilizations, ancient worlds teeming with impossible life. The birth and death of galaxies. Th. gasped as he experienced centuries. Through Naira's eyes felt the loneliness of watching but never participating, the ache of endless solitude. When the visions faded, tears tracked down his cheeks. How do you bear it? Until now I never questioned it. Naira pulled back, her surface showing ripples of deep blue uncertainty. But experiencing these moments with you, sharing them instead of just recording them, it's awakened something in me. I can't ignore. A commotion near the entrance drew their attention. The three geometric luminari I had returned there, forms stark and threatening against the lounge's warm ambiences. But this time they weren't alone. A dozen more followed, their crystalline bodies forming precise patterns as they moved through the crowd. They're going to take me back, Naira whispered, her voice thick with fear. They'll purge these emotions, these memories. They'll make me forget you. Thane stood, positioning himself between Naira and the approaching luminari. I won't let them. She touched his shoulder, sending a cascade of warmth through his body. You don't understand. They won't just take me. They'll erase every trace of our interaction. No one will remember you. Won't remember. Then we'll leave right now. He turned to her, his decision made. My ship's in the spaceport. We can be gone before they reach us. Naira's form flickered with surprise. You'd risk everything for someone you barely know. I know enough. He held out his hand. I know that whatever this is between us, it's real, and real things are worth fighting for. For a moment Naira remained still, her crystalline surface reflecting the chaos of emotions within. Then with a grace that made his heart skip, she took his hand. The northern exit, she said. There's less security. They moved through the crowd as casually as they could. Naira's form dimmed to near invisibility behind them. The geometric luminari began to spread out, their movements becoming more urgent. Just before reaching the exit, Thane glanced back. The lead luminari had raised its arm, revealing a device that pulsed with ominous energy. Run, Naira breath, and they burst through the door into the neon-lit night, pursued by beings who had spent eternities watching the universe but had never learned to truly live in it. Rain pelted the streets of Nova Haven as Thane and Naira raced through winding alleys, her crystalline form casting prismatic reflections on the wet pavement behind them. The methodical footsteps of the luminari echoed off the towering buildings. My ship's in Bay 17, Thane panted, pulling Naira around a corner. Just a few more blocks. A beam of pure energy sizzled past them, leaving a scorch mark on a nearby wall. Naira's form flickered with anxiety. They're not trying to hurt us, she said, her voice carrying undertones of dread. They're attempting to isolate my consciousness from my physical form. They ducked into a shadowy doorway as Another patrol of Luminari passed by on an adjacent street. Thane watched in fascination as Naira's crystalline body shifted to match the darkness around them, becoming nearly invisible. I need to tell you something, she whispered, her nebula eyes swirling with complex emotions. The Luminari aren't just observers, we're a living memory of the universe. Each of us contains centuries of recorded history, preserved experiences, moments that would otherwise be lost to time. Thane touched her face gently, feeling the cool smoothness of her crystalline surface. Is that why they're so determined to take you back? Partly. She leaned into his touch, but it's more than that. When I'm with you, I'm not just recording experiences, I'm creating new ones. Feeling things I've never felt before. It's changing me at my core, rewriting my very nature, and that terrifies them. A high-pitched whine filled the air and Naira stiffened. They're trying to track my energy signature. We need to move. They sprinted through the rain-soaked streets, weaving through the late-night crowd of humans and aliens. Thane's heart pounded, not just from exertion but from the reality of what they were facing. He was running from beings who had witnessed the birth of stars, trying to protect someone who carried the memories of civilizations within her. The spaceport loomed ahead, its massive structure stretching toward the cloud-covered sky. But as they approached the entrance, Naira suddenly pulled them to a stop. There's something else, she said, her voice trembling with harmonics that made the air vibrate. The longer I stay with you, the more I change, and if I change too much, her form rippled with waves of deep indigo, I could lose everything I've recorded, centuries of memories, countless moments of history, all of it could fade away. Thane felt his chest tighten. You'd forget everything, not just forget those memories would cease to exist entirely. Moments no one else witnessed, cultures long extinct, wonders never recorded anywhere else, all would be lost forever. Her eyes met his, swirling with conflicting emotions. Is this selfish of me to risk so much just to feel alive? Before Thane could answer, a resonating pulse swept through the area. Naira cried out, her form briefly destabilizing into crystalline fragments. Before pulling back together, the Luminari had surrounded them, their geometric forms creating a perfect circle of containment. Sister, one of them spoke, its voice a symphony of mathematical precision. Your corruption spreads deeper than we anticipated. Return to the collective before irreparable damage occurs. Thane stepped forward, shielding Naira with his body. She's not corrupted. She's evolving, learning to live instead of just observe. Living is not our purpose. Another Luminari I stated, we are the eternal witnesses, the preservers of all that was and will be. Emotion clouds the purity of observation, but what's the point of preserving memories if you never truly understand them? Naira's voice rang out, strong and clear. I've watched countless beings fall in love, sacrifice everything for each other, choose passion over logic. I never understood until now. With I'm not just recording life, I'm experiencing it. The Luminari moved closer, their forms pulsing with threatening energy. Thane reached back, taking Naira's hand in his. In that moment of contact he felt a surge of emotion flow between them. Fear, determination, and something deeper. Something that made his heart race and his soul sing. They were out of time, out of options, and surrounded by beings of immense power. But as Thane stood there, holding hands with a living crystal who carried universes within her, he knew one Thing with absolute certainty some. Things were worth any price in the tense standoff outside the spaceport. Naira's crystalline form began to pulse with an intense light that painted the rain. Slicked ground in swirling colors. The luminari shifted uneasily there. Geometric patterns disrupted by her display. You don't understand what's happening to her. The lead luminari announced, addressing Thing already. Portions of her archives are degrading. Precious moments of history dissolve. With each emotional response she experiences felt Naira's hand tighten in his. Through their contact he suddenly experienced flashes of her memories. Ancient civilizations rising and falling. The last song of an extinct species. The death of a star that no other being had witnessed. But mixed with these cosmic records were newer memories. The way his laugh had made her feel. The warmth of their dance. The first stirring of something that might be love. Show him, Naira said softly, show him what we really are. The luminari joined their forms in a complex pattern, and the air around them shimmered suddenly. Thane was immersed in a vast network of consciousness. Billions of recorded moments, countless perspectives, the accumulated experiences of eons. He saw the luminari for what they truly were, not just observers but the living memory of existence itself. Now you understand what she risks, the lead luminari said as the vision faded. For the sake of these fleeting emotions she would sacrifice irreplaceable history. Fane turned to Naira, his heart heavy. Is there no way to preserve both your memories and your ability to feel? Naira's surface rippled with sadness. The more I change, the more I lose. Already I can feel centuries slipping away, replaced by moments with you. Each smile, each touch, each heartbeat there, writing themselves over records that. Welcome to the world of science fiction. I am Adam, your narrator, where extraordinary tale come to life. Enjoy the journey. He paid for a night with an alien. She left with his very soul. The neon lights of Stardust Lounge cast rainbow reflections across the rain slicked streets of Nova Haven. Fane adjusted his worn leather jacket, watching the mix of humans and aliens filing into the establishment. He wasn't here for entertainment, not really. After 6 months of solo courier runs between the outer colonies, loneliness had become a constant companion. The lounge's entrance scanner hummed as it read his credentials inside. The air was thick with exotic perfumes and the gentle pulse of ambient music. Holographic dancers twirled above the crowd, their forms shifting between humanoid and alien shapes. Fane made his way to the bar, ordered a drink he couldn't pronounce, and tried to ignore the hollow feeling in his chest. That's when he saw her. She stood by the window, gazing at the cityscape below. Her form was vaguely humanoid, but her skin seemed to be made of living crystal, shifting between deep purple and midnight blue. Scattered across her surface were points of light that mimicked the stars outside. She turned, and he found himself staring into eyes that looked like captured nebula. You've been watching me for precisely 6 minutes and 23 seconds. She said, her voice carrying harmonic undertones that made his skin tingle. Thane felt his face warm. I didn't mean to stare. I've just never seen anyone quite like you before. Few have. She moved closer, her crystalline form flowing like liquid starlight. I am Naira, and you are Fane, just a courier trying to find his place in the universe. Her laugh sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Are any of us truly just anything? They talked for hours, Fane told her. About his travels through the star systems, the strange cargo he'd transported, the sunrises he'd witnessed on distant worlds. Naira listened with an intensity that made him feel truly seen. For the first time in years. "Dance with me," she said suddenly, extending a hand that sparkled with internal light. "I'm not much of a dancer, neither am I. Perhaps we can be bad at it together." The music shifted to something slow and ethereal. Naira's crystalline form was cool against his skin as they swayed together. Where their bodies touched, Thane felt gentle vibrations, like the universe was humming a secret melody just for them. "What are you?" he whispered. "Something I'm not supposed to be," she answered softly. "Something that shouldn't be here." Before he could ask what she meant, Naira tensed. Across the room 3 figures had entered the lounge. They appeared similar to her in form, but their crystalline bodies were rigid, geometric, lacking her fluid grace. "I have to go," she said, pulling away. "Thank you for making me feel real." "Wait," Thane caught her hand. "When can I see you again?" Naira hesitated, her form rippling with colors he had no names for. "Tomorrow, same time." But Thane, her eyes seemed to pierce his soul. "If you come, know that nothing will ever be the same." She slipped away into the crowd, leaving him with the lingering sensation of stardust on his skin. The 3 geometric figures followed their movements, precise and threatening. Thane watched them go, his heart racing with equal parts fear and anticipation. He already knew he'd return tomorrow in a universe of infinite possibilities. Some chances were worth any risk. As he left the Stardust Lounge, the city's light seemed brighter somehow, as if Naira's presence had awakened something in him that had been dormant for far too long. In his pocket, his communicator chimed with a message from his next delivery contract. He ignored it for the first time in years. Tomorrow mattered more than any job could. Thane spent the next day in a daze, his thoughts constantly drifting to Naira. He'd seen his share of wonders hauling cargo across the galaxy, but nothing compared to the way her crystalline form had caught the light, or how her voice had resonated in his chest like distant thunder. The Stardust Lounge felt different when he returned. The usual crowd of socialites and traders filled the space, but the air seemed charged with anticipation. He found Naira waiting in a secluded alcove, her form dimmed to a subtle shimmer. "You came," she said. Surprise and something like fear coloring her harmonious voice. "Of course I did." Thane settled beside her, close enough to feel the cool radiance of her presence. "Those others who followed you yesterday, who were they?" Naira's surface rippled with dark colors. "My kind, the luminari. I were collectors of experience, you might say. We observe. We took eons to collect." The rain fell harder, drumming against Naira's crystalline form like tears from the sky. Thane watched as points of light within her flickered and faded, stars of memory going dark one by one. "Choose now, sister. The luminari," I demanded. "Return to the collective, or lose everything you've preserved." Thane released Naira's hand, stepping back. "I won't let you sacrifice everything for me. Those memories, that history, it's too important." But Naira reached for him again, her touch sending cascades of warmth through his rain-soaked body. "What use is remembering love if you never experience it? What value does history have if we learn nothing from it?" Before anyone could react, she pressed her forehead to things. In that moment she shared everything, not just the grand cosmic events she'd witnessed, but the small precious moments that had Changed her the first time she'd felt curiosity watching him at the bar, the surge of joy when he'd returned the second night, the wonderful terror of realizing she could feel more than just academic interest in the events unfolding around her as they connected. Her form began to change, the rigid crystalline structure started to flow like liquid starlight, taking on a more organic appearance. The luminary moved forward in alarm, but an invisible barrier held them back. Naira's power turned outward in protection rather than observation. Stopped the lead luminary. I commanded your destroying millennia of records, but Naira didn't stop. Instead, she smiled, the first true smile he had seen from her as her transformation continued. I'm not destroying them, she whispered, I'm making them mean something. The transformation that began outside the spaceport changed everything as Naira's form shifted. The very air seemed to vibrate with possibility. Her crystalline surface became fluid, organic, yet still scattered with points of light like captured stars. The luminari I watched in both horror and fascination as one of their own chose to become something entirely new. The archives, the lead luminari I protested, its voice wavering, all that history is still here, Naira said, her voice now carrying new warmth while maintaining its melodic quality, but different, changed like me. She turned to me, her nebula eyes now holding depths of emotion he'd never seen before. I'm not just remembering feelings anymore, I'm experiencing them, and in doing so I understand every moment I've recorded in a way I never could before. The rain had stopped and the first light of dawn began to paint the sky in subtle colors. Thane watched in wonder as Naira's new form caught and reflected the light, not with the sharp facets of crystal but with the gentle luminescence of living stardust. What happens now? He asked softly. Naira reached for his hand, her touch warm instead of cool. Now we make our own memories, but first, she turned to the luminari who had drawn back into a defensive formation. Let me show you what I've learned. She raised her free hand, and suddenly the air was filled with holograms, not just of historic events but of emotions. The luminari I witnessed love stories from 1,000 world sacrifices made for belief, joy found in simple moments, grief that moved mountains, hope that outlasted empires. But now these memories carried something new. Understanding we've been preserving history without truly comprehending it. Naira told her people we record the actions but miss their meaning. Feel what I feel, understand what I understand. Slowly, hesitantly, the luminari began to respond. Their rigid geometric forms softened, slightly, points of warm light appearing in their previously uniform surfaces. The lead luminari stepped forward, its voice uncertain but curious. This sensation, is this what they call feeling? It's just the beginning, Naira said gently. There's so much more to experience to truly understand. We don't have to choose between preserving history and living it. We can do both. The transformation spread through the luminari I like ripples in still water. Their collective consciousness, once focused solely on observation and preservation, began to expand into something richer, deeper, more alive. They didn't lose their purpose, they enhanced it. Fane watched in awe as the beings who had pursued them now began their own journey of discovery. Naira squeezed his hand, drawing his attention back to her. Thank you, she whispered, for showing me that some things are worth the risk of change. What happens now? He asked again. Naira smiled, and in that expression was Every sunrise she'd ever witnessed, every moment of joy she'd ever recorded, and something entirely new, hope for the future. Now we explore the universe together, not just as observer and